So, this is a little rough. Hope it's all right. I would love some feedback because I plan on working this talk and doing it other places. All right, so my name is Aji, pronouns he, him, but don't worry about that. So I want to start with a story. It's a cautionary tale. Thing 1 and Thing 2 are developers working on an e-commerce app, and a bug turns up in the shopping cart. After a little digging, Thing 1 finds the code that's causing the problem. It's readable, it's pretty good, but it's doing a lot of extra stuff. And part of that extra stuff is what's causing the bug. Get blame shows that Thing 2 wrote that class a few months back, so Thing 1 asks for help. Thing 2 remembers doing that and shrugs, well, it seemed pretty self-explanatory at the time. Besides, this code is self-documenting. Thing 1 agrees that it just needs a little refactor to fix up the edge case and simplify the logic. Presto chango, the bug is fixed and code is deployed to production. But a week later, the product manager comes in to tell them, project manager, that the site stopped processing orders and it crashed and it lost a week of data and sales, and Thing 2 suddenly remembers, oh, now I know why I did it that way. And at the end of Sprint Retro, what do you think the tech lead suggests to make sure that this doesn't happen again? I know what you're thinking. Isn't this exciting? It's like in a podcast when they say the name of the episode in the episode. Some of you are thinking, commit messages? No way. How can commit messages prevent tragedy like this? We've probably all heard a few rules about commit messages. And even though we've heard these simple rules, it doesn't stop us from making commit messages that are unhelpful, that are cryptic, that are obvious. Okay. Maybe they're too short or too optimistic. Sometimes they can get incredulous or just be diversions. Sometimes coding, we know, is tough. Really tough. Which can lead to remorse. Emotions start to bleed into the work. And sometimes you just lose it. This one's perfect, though. Commit messages are an opportunity to provide context around a change. The commit itself provides who, what, where, when, but it misses why and misc. Why did you make this change? Maybe that's as simple as linking to a Jira ticket or to a GitHub issue. Is there external helpful information, an issue tracker, a Slack discussion, blog post, or a specific line in the documentation that you want to highlight? Why did you make this change in this way? Maybe something that looks weird is weird for a reason. Any thoughts about pitfalls or integrations with future pieces of work? What does someone who will touch this code in the future need to know? Because the myth of completely contained, self-documenting code is unrealistic, but that is another talk. Even if you're using something like JSDoc or Yard to auto-generate API documentation, both of which are great tools, that's just adding more what and how. Putting in comments about how this is different from the old API and make sure to watch out for XYZ gotcha isn't going to help someone who's looking up what arguments a function takes. That's not the right place. But it does help someone that is looking to make a change to the code. And that's exactly what the commit messages are for. Now let's look at a few examples of good commit messages. I'm not sure how readable these are going to be. I'll give you the gist. So here we have an example with a good, succinct subject line. It's the often mentioned 50-character limit is so that GitHub doesn't cut it off, but that just applies to the subject line. That shouldn't be the entirety of the commit message. There's context about the problem. What was happening? Why was this change thought about? What changed to fix it and do what it does now? There's even a little code sample of things that you're looking out for that required this kind of change. And last but not least, there is a link to the issue number down here at the bottom, which if you use GitHub, these words in any of these three tenses, followed by an issue number, will automatically close that issue when the PR is merged into the default branch. And many other issue trackers have the same kind of integrations. Okay, how can we have awesome commit messages? Well, first off, you're going to stop using git commit-n. But okay, I hear you saying, Aji, you know what that's going to do. I say good, Vim is great. But we'll look at changing that to your editor of choice in just a moment. So there are some automated tools that can help us to make better commit messages. In my editor, Vim, the best editor, I have a linter that's going to warn me about potential problems with my commit messages. For those of you not familiar with linters, that's a tool that automates looking for mistakes in your code or your commits. That usually does it through indications at the line number and a short description of what that is. Some good ones even have a link to a longer description and examples on a web page. This is the default template for commit messages. This text is going to appear at the top of the file when you run the git command. I guess I should have highlighted that earlier. I'll show you an example of one that I've used here. So any of the lines with the octothorpe in front of them are going to get ignored. They're not going to be included in your message. So it's a little reminder that your subject is going to be the first line, and it's got a little handy little bars to show you where 50 characters is. Drop down here, and there are a few questions to kind of prompt some thoughts from you. Why is this change being made? Try to keep it to 72 characters because a lot of different tools will truncate it there and things can get wrapped weird. Are there any gotchas or quirks for changing this code in the future? Provide some links. Do you have any articles about the method that you used or other resources? And then a little reminder to include a link to the issue tracker. So you'd save this file as plain text and put it somewhere safe. We'll be adding it to the git config. A git config can take a lot of different settings, but the ones that we are going to point out here are in commit and core. This is a file that is just .git commit in your home directory, and Git will pick that up no matter what project you're in. So you will do this kind of heading with the square braces for commit template equals the path to your beautiful template that you've written before. I think mine now is a .txt, it can be extensionless, plain text, it'll pick it up. And then here, if you want to commit the heresy of changing the editor away from Vim, in the core, with the brackets, we're going to set editor equals
Vim.
Well, yes, I use nvim, yes. And also Vim is aliased to nvim on my machine. So if you want to use Atom, there is a little quirk that I'll tell you about. Put it in quotes, Atom -- wait. I think it tries to go too fast and doesn't pick up the template when it loads the thing. So let's get another example here. Again, the subject is short and to the point. If you can't read all of that, this is describing kind of the before, the how, the why, all of that we were talking about the changes. And this is actually linking to an outside authority about network security, which is what this PR concerns. So it's linking directly to OWASP right there. So why would we go through the effort? What do we get? Commit messages, like code, are for other people to read. It's for the team member who's reviewing your code in that pull request. It's for a developer in the future. And remember that developer in the future can be you 2 months from now. All right, let's go. Code review, we talked about that. Leaving messages to yourself, that's like time travel. That's pretty cool. And I'll leave you with one more to show that you don't have to be incredibly verbose to have a good commit message. This says everything that it needs to right there in 3 lines. Now we'll get to this other stuff. My name is Aji. It's spelled A-J-I, and you say it like Aji. I work at 20 Spokes, and that's my Twitter handle. Thanks.